my comfort zone completely. So I wanted to expand on the relationship, and I have a lot of negative people in my life, and it's very difficult for me to not take that all in. And
because there's some momentum about it, and so we get that. But a little bit of finding satisfaction through meditation changes every one of those relationships a little bit, and then the next day they change a little more, and then the next day they change a little more. And you know what changes? Not their behavior and not what they think of you, but your feeling about the importance of what they think of you.
And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, after a little while you just get feeling so good that even though they might be negative even about you, you kind of get it. It's sort of like if you're watching a little guy just learning how to walk and he keeps falling down, you don't say, "Get up, you little dummy." You just know he doesn't get it yet, and he will. And so once you catch your balance, then you're more patient with others as they catch their balance.
It seems to be very difficult to take that in.
Well, that's because we're almost asking the impossible. When that's the momentum that's going, you see, we were teasing with our friend earlier because she called out truth, and we were playing with the word truth. Truth is not the best word. Here's what we mean by that. Esther would say, "But Abraham, it's true, so shouldn't I think about it?" And we say, "It's only true because somebody thought about it." So if what they thought about and what they created you want to create, then give it your attention. But if they've created some truth that you don't want in your life, then ignore it if you can. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Give your attention to something that you want to attract into your experience. And so we know that we started with this today, in fact, that people are so observant of what's around them that they let what they are observing set their tone, set their point of attraction, and then they get more of it. So it just looks truer and truer. You thought it, you practiced the thought of it, and it just keeps proving itself to you, even though it's not satisfying. So our work today was to convince you that you can separate what seems like real from what feels satisfying. And if it's not satisfying, even though it might be real, try not to think about it. Even though it seems real, if it's not satisfying, try not to think about it. Even though it might be real, if it's not satisfying, try not to think about it. And after a little while, with the help of meditation, it's easier and easier not to think about those things that aren't satisfying. And then you sort of break the circuit so that they're not part of your attraction so much, so that you can go through long periods of time where only pleasant people find you.
These people are like my father, my sister, my intermediate, right? So it's like...
But there is an inner being version of every one of them. And the inner being version of every one of them, your inner being is focused upon and finding lovely things about them. Give us one example of something unwanted that comes at you often from one of them, and we'll show you what we mean.
Why don't you go get a job instead of working for yourself and not making any money? How are you going to pay the bills if you don't have a job?
All right, so there it is. Do you appreciate the interest that this person has in you?
Yes.
And do you believe that this person wants more money to flow to you?
Yes.
And do you believe that you are a vibrational match in terms of that desire?
The desire of making money?
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you believe that this person is the best one to give you guidance?
No.
So that's where you sort of part company. So do you believe that you have the ability to tap into your own guidance?
Yes.
But do you believe that you've sort of trained them and they've trained you to give guidance to each other?
Yes.
It's easy to understand why they think you should listen, but our question to you is, hasn't it been, our statement to you, hasn't it been quite a long while since you've really taken any of their guidance?
Yes.
So they're not really shocked that you're not taking it now.
Yes, correct.
So it's really not the big battle that you're making it out to be, because you haven't been listening to them for a long time anyway. And they're not really listening to you for a long time anyway. They really want to just commiserate with you about the fact that you're not making any money. In fact, maybe they're taking a little delight in that, just a little bit, which really gets your goat.
And that's a lot of what it is I feel myself wanting to commiserate with it and get into all the drama and get into all of it.
Or as we were talking about earlier, justification.
Yes.
So what if you were to say to them, now just follow this through with us just for a little bit. What if you were to say to them, you're probably right. You've given me a lot of good guidance through the years. And I know for sure that you care about the outcome of this. And I thank you for that. And I'm going to consider everything that you're saying. And thank you for rooting for me. Now, you could say every one of those words without violating your own truth.
Okay.
Didn't you mean everything that we meant you meant?
Yes.
We got that right out of you. We didn't make it up. We got that right out of you. But here's the deal. What you're worried about is their response to it.
Yes.
So don't say it out loud. Change the vibration by saying it to yourself, but don't say it out loud. So they won't retaliate. And you've cleaned up some energy. And when you clean up your energy with them, if they're not coming with you in the cleaned up energy, they don't keep coming with you. It's no fun to talk to somebody who's not in on the vibrational game. When you stand in a state of security, they won't want to talk to you about not making any money. When you start making a bunch of money, you won't be fun to play with for them anymore. And do you think maybe there's a little bit of you that wants to keep playing with all of them?
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
there is, and then that's the side that I'm wanting to move away from. That whole entire thing of holding on to all that negative, because that's what I'm doing, is I'm holding on to the negative and reinforcing it and going, yeah, you're right, and feeding into it. And I don't want to do that. I want to feed into all of that positive stuff.
You can't go cold turkey. You can't just stop doing it all at once. And everything about them is not negatively serving you. Some of it is positively serving you. And you don't want to sever all relationships. You just want to take the best parts of them with you. And in the same way that the entire universe, or this time on planet Earth, this time in space, is a microcosm of lots of things wanted and unwanted. Every single person you know is a microcosm of things wanted and unwanted. And you can't attract the wanted until the wanted part is most active in you. And you can't get the wanted part of any of them to be the most active part in you while you're standing and looking at all of it. So you've got to start selectively sifting in the things that you think about them by making lists of positive aspects and so on. You said the perfect words to us as you sat down. It's hard, you said. And we say, we know it. We've written so many books about so many processes to help you leave those vibrations and find these vibrations. And you know what we're saying today? Instead, meditate. Quiet your mind, which stops all thoughts about them. Allow your vibration to raise, which will give you only the thoughts that your inner being is thinking about them. And if you do it often enough, your relationship with them will change, because your inner being will dominate the vibration of you. When you stood before Jesus dripping your illness, he did not see your illness. He knew your wellness, and he knew it so completely that your illness could not abide in his vibration. He just sort of swamped the whole energy field for a while. Well, that's what meditation does for you. You will connect with the love that you feel for them so powerfully that they will not be able to penetrate your love with their worry. It won't be satisfying to be around you because you're not bothered. You won't commiserate with them anymore. They'll say times are hard, and you'll say things are getting better. And they'll say most people are struggling, and you'll say I'm meeting more and more who aren't.
They hate Mondays, and Mondays are actually beautiful.
Yeah. They'll say it's hard, you'll say it's getting easier. But don't say it out loud. Don't pick a fight with them.
And that's what I do when I open my mouth about it, is I pick a fight.
Well, it's hard. It's hard not to defend. That's what we were talking about. You're standing in the place where you don't really want to be. And somebody's looking at you, so it feels like you should explain. why you're not in a better place. And every word that comes out of your mouth just nails your feet to the floor in a stronger way. So you want to practice that when they're not with you, so much so that they don't want to be with you.
Or if they want to be with me, they have to change their own ways.
Or they don't change their ways and you don't care.
That's what I want.
That's the very best. You don't say, get up, you little dummy. You say, life's good for me. Esther has friends who occasionally someone will say to them, so-and-so is causing trouble in my experience. And her friend will say, they're always nice to us. You're having whatever experience you're having, but they're always nice to us. It really is more about your own shock absorbers, isn't it? It's more about your perspective. Everything is perceptual. Everything is about perspective. And when you practice the perspective of your inner being more and more, then life looks and is better and better. So at first you're just practicing the thought of it, and then life is demonstrating it to you because you've practiced the thought of it, and then you can observe the improved life, and now you're practicing the thought of it more and more. So you get under the influence of the things that feel good and less under the influence of the things that feel bad. Complaining is so easy, and tearing down is so much easier for most people than building up, but it just goes against your basic nature. Every time you tear something down, every time you push against something, Jerry used to offer an analogy. He'd say, I'm pushing against this, I'm pushing against this, I'm pushing against this, I'm pushing against this, I want it to go away. And every bit of that pressure is on my hand too. In other words, you can't push against anything without the equal force with which you are pushing pushes right back at you. It's the laws of the universe. And so anything that you push against, you just practice the momentum of it, and then you just attract more and more and more and more of it. And so isn't it a nice thing when you're having a step one moment where you're experiencing contrast, but this time it's not just step one, because you've done step 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on so much of the time, and now you're having a step one moment with someone and it's not bothering you because you bless the contrast, because you know out of this contrast will come more desire, and out of this more desire will come more eternalness. And so you see them not only as part of the problem, you see them part of the problem and the solution. If there weren't problems, there wouldn't be solutions. And if there weren't solutions, there wouldn't be any fun. There wouldn't be any satisfaction. You wouldn't have one bit of satisfaction if we were answering questions that you're not asking. No satisfaction at all. Not any at all.
It'd be boring.
Yeah. Enough?
Yes.
Really good. Really good. Really good.